Welcome along to Access All Ours, coming to you live from the Harlington training ground as we build up to this weekend's game against Bolton Wanderers. We'll be looking back on that disastrous defeat against Fulham as well. I'm delighted to say we've been joined by Lee Cook, former QPR wing wizard. Lee, thanks for joining us. Apologies for running late, running 10 minutes late. Lee Cook was 10 minutes late down to Harlington, although that's what Gateshead away will do to you on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, I got up at 11 instead of half 10. Sorry about that, mate. Set me alarm, but I was in a coma. Couldn't get out of bed. Not
a good result for Eastleigh last night.
No, it's just hard, them travels on a Tuesday. Cause I don't know who the fixture man is, but he needs a slap. We got in at 5 o'clock this morning, so yeah, it was a tough game actually. Wet, windy, it was horrible. But yeah, it's a tight league, so hopefully we can pick up after last night.
We'll talk about QPR in a moment. Just firstly on Eastleigh, how are you enjoying it? You're in the National League and you're just outside the playoffs after a disappointing recent run.
Yeah, we've started off quite well actually, but we had this FA Cup run and the FA Trophy, which sort of hindered our progress in the league. The manager signed a few new players, and everyone's not quite gelling at the minute. But it's such a tight division. I think we'll be in the playoffs easy, but it's a hard league. I played in it last year and I won it, but it was really we got over the line by a point last year. Difficult league actually. But a lot of games. The club's progressing at
quite a rate, isn't it? Because only a couple of years ago you got into the National League for the first time in your history, and then playoffs last year, and now you're
there's a new stadium being built. He's building a 15,000 all-seater, I think. He's put a lot of money in. He wants to get him to the Championship in the next 5 to 7 years. That's his aim.
Right.
He's got a bit of money, the old chairman, and he don't mind spending it.
Happy days.
Yeah, so
are you enjoying it there?
Yeah, it's good. I've got a little car school, drive down once a week, because we train, we all take turns, so it works out, you drive once a week, which ain't too bad. It's about an hour and 20 minutes from where I live, so we have a bit of banter on the way down in the car, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's a decent side, we play some good football, so.
Legs still serving you well?
It's just about, mate, yeah. My legs are all right. My knee plays up now and again, but yeah, my legs are all right.
Great stuff. Well. OK, well, if you've got a question for Lee, you can tweet us using the hashtag AccessAllOurs. We'll put the best ones to him over the course of the next half an hour or so. I think what we need to do is get the worst part of the show out of the way, and that's what happened against Fulham at Loftus Road on Saturday. It was a game that everyone was really looking forward to, particularly after the defeat at Craven Cottage back in September. Yeah. QPR went into it on the back of a good run of results, 5 unbeaten, a couple of wins, and then a mad 10 or 15 minute spell at the end of the first half just killed the game.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite excited for this game actually, because I came to the game the following week against Ipswich. I was off with a virus, so I managed to get out of bed and get down and watch the game, and I was quite impressed. I thought we dominated the Ipswich game. We could have scored 4 or 5. So going into that Fulham match, I was quite upbeat about it. I've got a couple of Fulham supporters as pals as well, and we got this message board on WhatsApp, and they started giving it in the morning. I said, look, I think the best result you can hope for today is a draw. And then at half time, I had a text saying 3-0 to them, and I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. So I don't really know. I didn't see the match. I don't know what happened in that 10-minute spell, but obviously, after the first goal, when the Neds must have dropped, because the week before, I thought the lads played well.
Yeah, the frustrating thing as well is, incredibly, over the last 10 games, the last 10 times we've played them, we've got a better record against Chelsea than we have against Fulham. Yeah,
it's mad. They seem to be a bit of a bogey team for us. But like I winded him up on the message saying, because the Fulham supporters now actually think they're a really big club and bigger than us, and because they've beat us so many times, he said, you can't beat us. This is how it is against when we play you every time, and that's what they feel that they've got on us, which is a shame, because I still think behind Chelsea, QPR, maybe Brentford now, they're probably 4th best in West, but that's another argument, I suppose. But I mean, I think both of these teams will be in the Championship next year, so we're going to get a chance to put it right against them.
Does it get into a player's mentality? You go into it and just have that, these are our bogey team?
I think it does play on your mind mentally. If you've not beat a team in many years, although people will say, oh, history means nothing, you do look at that. Because if you do go a goal down, you think, oh, this is not meant to be. Yeah. And then they'd shot, but and then that's down to the boys and the staff to get it going. But obviously it was a bad performance as well. From what I've heard, it wasn't just a result, it wasn't a great performance, so they need to pick themselves up pretty quick after that, I think.
Yeah, and then this weekend we've got Bolton. We'll talk about that in a little while. But I suppose one of the even more frustrating things is after they beat us at Craven Cottage 4-0. They lost their next game 3-0.
Yeah.
And then this week they've done the same. They played Blackburn and lost 3-0.
Yeah.
Having looked, you'd have to say, very impressive against us at Loftus Road. And we've spoken about this before. Is it a case that in the same way we really raise ourselves for Chelsea, perhaps more than Chelsea do for us, does that happen against us when we play Fulham?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of when we play Chelsea, I think when we've played them, I mean, the games have been so tight. We've nicked it by a goal, and things have all gone for us in the games. People get sent off and all them kind of things. I mean, when we play Fulham, everything seems to go the other way against us. Even goals going in that, you know, normally wouldn't, and things dropping for them. I mean, that one that was at Craven Cottage, I remember that was live on Sky that day. I remember watching it at home, and everything just where every pass we made went wrong, and everything they did went right. And I think it's just one of them games that day. And I thought, even though they won 4-0, I thought, no, they're not great for them. I didn't think they were great, and then that was proof because after that their run was quite bad. So we just need to get that burden off our back of when we play them, because we're going to be playing them for the next couple of seasons by the looks of it.
Yeah. How does it feel coming back to Harland and bring back some memories?
It does, yeah. Yeah. Worked here many years. I mean, it's got all fancy now. You've even got barriers around the pitch. We didn't get them when I was here, fortunately.
We don't have to go and collect the footballs anymore.
No, exactly, yeah. We then got a ball boy out there.
Looking back to when you first joined the club then, you were actually, obviously come from Watford, but you're actually out on loan prior to that, playing in League Two before you came to us.
Well, theoretically League One now, yeah. But, I mean, my first season here, when I actually signed permanently after the loan stint, in the Championship, we finished 11th that year. I mean, it looked like at one stage we were third, like after 23 games under Ollie. And I had breakfast with Martin Rowlands the other day, and we were talking about that team and how we feel that team would do against his current team.
Go on.
And we said it'd be interesting to, you know, to have a go to see the difference sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, they were good years, and years under Ollie, and then obviously go getting promoted as well. I mean, I've had seven years down at this place, and yeah, it's great coming back. I mean, not a lot of it's changed actually. I mean, just little things like that which helps and makes it look good, but it's pretty much the same people. I was at the game the other day, see Julie and people like that, and Caroline. So seeing all the old faces, it was good.
Was that almost like a one-off period when you look at obviously yourself, QPR fan, Kevin Gallen, Mark Bircham, Martin Rowlands, and then there was the people like Gareth Ainsworth who were real part of that group. It was a very tight and very loud group that was right at the centre of everything that was going on with the club.
Yeah, I mean...
It's quite unique.
Yeah, you find it difficult these days. If you go to a team at Championship level and above, to find a lot of local boys playing in that team. Most of the team half of it were from London, and you had four or five QPR supporters in the team. You won't find that many places these days. And that definitely helped us, the spirit. We had a right good spirit that season, well, them 3 seasons. But yeah, like I say, you go anywhere across the country, I think you find that difficult to find that. Yeah,
from you as a QPR fan, that the people that you played under, that must have been incredible to come in and be playing under Ian Holloway and then Gary Waddock and then John Gregory. Yeah. It must have been a boy's dream.
Yeah, like my dad, like when Waddo took over, like my dad said how good Gary Waddock was as a player. I mean, I didn't really see much of Gary, and then I watched a couple of old tapes. I knew he was a bit of a legend because obviously I knew the name. But my dad was very impressed and said he was a top player, and he was a bit like, I can't believe you're playing for him sort of thing. But for me, playing under Ollie was great for me, because I used to come and watch when Ollie played, and I loved Ollie as a player. You know, he always says he was the piano carrier, but he was a decent footballer. He always put himself down on his football side, because he had a great touch and he could really pick a pass as well as ratting around. So it was great playing under him, and obviously with the likes of Kev I used to watch as well. So.
Yeah. Are you sad to see Ian Holloway not working in management now?
I am. I see him, he's doing well with his Sky bits on the TV, but you know, he needs to be back in management. He's still young enough, and you know, he's a great person to work for. So I still don't think he's finished yet. I think there's another job out there for him somewhere.
Looking back on your goals during your time here, it must have been great as you were sort of growing into your role, and then the club were progressing. Obviously, we just won promotion in that season that you joined us. Was that linked to, because obviously you were on loan to us, went back to Watford, had a great season then the following year with Watford, played every week pretty much. Yeah. And then at the end of that season, after QPR won promotion, you went from Watford in the Championship to QPR in the Championship. Was your arrival at Loftus Road, did it hinge on us winning promotion that season into the Championship?
I don't know. I mean, I remember the season before when they got into the playoff final, I was so disappointed that, you know, we didn't go up that year because I thought, oh, maybe I can get there in the summer. But obviously I had to stay in the Championship because, you know, I was young and hungry at the time, and I was just praying that the following season they did go up because my contract was coming to an end. And although Watford offered me a new one, I was still adamant on coming to QPR because I knew they was interested. Ollie had spoke to me in January, and they said, look, I want you to come in the summer. Obviously, if we get promoted, and I was like, I'd love to. I made the mistake of saying I was going to stay. Young, naive, 19-year-old doing interviews, but so I got a bit of stick for doing it. But it's the day I signed, you know, it was such a special day, and I'll never forget that Brentford game as well, and like my first game for QPR. And yeah, I've got a lot of stuff at home. I was going through scrapbooks the other day. It's great to look back on, and obviously like, all the parents and the granddad and all that, they're all proud, and they have a look at them all the time. So I'm just, you know, glad to say I've played for the team I supported all my life. So. And
then the decision came obviously for you to leave QPR, move into Fulham. It must have been I suppose in some ways an easy decision, if you like, because it was a great opportunity for you to move on and progress your career at a key time, but it must have also been very hard.
Yeah, it was hard. I remember the day I got the call, it was quite early. It was like, I was off in the summer, it was about 9 in the morning, and my agent rang me and he said, I've just spoke to Gianni and they've accepted the offer. And I put the phone down, and for the next 5-10 minutes I was a bit like, oh, right, this is actually happening, I'm gonna have to leave. Like, although you want to leave and you want to go into the Premiership and all that kind of stuff, all my mates were here. I'd been here for so many years. I knew everybody at the ground. It was such a family place. And yeah, it was a bit, I mean, the day I come in to get me boots and that, it was a bit upsetting, but I was only away for a year, so it didn't really matter, did it?
And what happened was, obviously, it's been well documented, that incredible gesture from yourself where you gave your signing on fee back to the club because the club was financially not in a great place. Yeah. And then I think about 2 months later, it was taken over by Flavio Briatore and Bernie Ecclestone.
It was literally 6-7 weeks. And then the week before my first game, we had Arsenal at the brand new stadium for their first year. I'd done my knee in a pre-season friendly away at Aldershot. Everyone thinks I did it at QPR on my birthday, but it wasn't.
No, we against us, didn't you? You just hadn't joined us, and I think Zesh Raymond was.
Everyone blamed Zesh, but Zesh rang me actually. I said, "No, it weren't you, mate." I said, "Don't worry about it." I'd done it in the game of the following game, and I was out for like 9 months, 10 months, which kind of killed it. And then when the summer came, I went on pre-season tour to South Korea with the first team and stuff, and it was playing well. Looked like I was getting a chance, and then Roy Hodgson rang me and said, "We've accepted an offer." And I said, "Oh, right." I said, "So, you know, if you've accepted the offer, that means I've got to go." And then I come back, and then when I come back, it was like, what has gone on? Like, completely different. I think all the standard, all the new seats have been put in the stadium. They'd all been ripped out. There'd been a lot of improvements at the training ground. There was a new chef that had come in from some Super Cipriani restaurant, and it was like, what is going on? This is mad. But you know, that documentary and the 4-year plan and all that, you know, they'd done what they said they was going to do, and it's just a shame that we've yo-yoed a little bit. I thought once we went up, I thought we'd stabilise, but maybe that'll happen in a couple more years.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And during your first season back, you played under 4 different managers.
Yeah, I mean, that was a mad season. Was it 4? Was it more?
I think it was 4 in the first 12 months. You came in under Ian Dowie, then had Gareth Ainsworth, then Paulo Sousa, and then Gareth Ainsworth. That was all in the first season.
Yeah, that first season was mad. I see Ian Dowie on the other day on Fantasy Football talking about the incident down here the day that he actually got the sack.
Do you remember that day?
Yeah, I do. He got the player wrong as well. He got it wrong on the... it was Danny Parejo that was the player that was not playing. But it was an interesting day. But that season, I thought when we come in for pre-season, I thought we'd be up like top 3 or 4. It was quite a disappointing season in the end, and obviously that was down to a lot of things. There was arguments. There was the famous headbutt incident with Akos Buzaki. A lot went on. It was off the pitch. It kind of ended the season, but we got there in the end eventually.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
And from your point of view, it was difficult, wasn't it, when you came back because of injuries? You didn't play as much as you would have liked during that period.
It kind of all stemmed from that injury at Fulham. I had 2 operations there, and the first one wasn't done correctly, and I ended up having too much cartilage taken out. And with that injury, the more you train and the more you play, the constant bone-to-bone stuff, that hinders the knee. But the major operation I had here it done wonders for me, really. I'm still playing now when they thought I'd have to retire at 30. So to keep going now, I'm 33 now. I mean, I've got another year in me. But
is that what you're thinking, one more year?
Yeah, I mean, I've played something like, since I left here, I've played over 100 games in 3 years. So, the operation I had here was a big one for me. That was make or break. And they made it.
Yeah.
I made it well, so thank you for that.
Okay, Aaron Wood has sent a question in. What was it like being part of the Southampton youth setup? Southampton have developed many high-profile players.
Yeah, very good, very good. How
long were you there?
I went there when I was 7. Mum and Dad drove a lot of miles down to Wellington, where we played. I trained at Slough, was the centre for the London boys. There was 3 different centres, and then when we got to YTS, you had to go and live in Adele, and that's when I was a bit of a baby. So I didn't want to leave home, so I kind of regret that decision, thinking about it. But who knows what would have happened if I'd have signed YT there and not got pro. You don't know.
Yeah.
But I went down there after a week. I couldn't do it. I had to leave and come home.
How old were you at that point?
15.
I suppose a lot of people,
15.
when they see footballing decisions made, they only think of the football decision, not the fact it's been made by a 15-year-old who perhaps doesn't want to move away from.
They used to take us to Winchester Army Barracks to stay for like a week and 2 weeks to get you used to living away from home, and I found that quite difficult. I was a bit of a homeboy, to be honest, and then when I got to 15, when you had to go and live down there, that's when I was like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And obviously that's when I ended up going to Wickham because it was just a local team.
Yeah.
And I was playing left back for them for some strange reason. The manager played me left back. Can't defend to save me life. Ended up getting released and going to Aylesbury and playing up front and scoring loads of goals. So yeah, that was the history of it. But it was a good setup, very good setup. They've produced some very good players. There was a kid in my youth team. We thought he was going to be the next Bobby Moore, and he got to 19, 20, got released. And I've never heard of him since. It's just weird how it works
it's strange
out.
How different players develop at different paces, and some sort of early and then fall away, and others can do the opposite.
Schoolboy level and going into the youth team, YTS, he was untouchable. No one could get near him. Even my granddad, who's very judgmental on players. I mean, you have to be a good player for him to say you're all right. If him to say you're all right, it means you're very good.
And he thought he was all right. What did he describe his grandson as?
He liked me, obviously.
Okay. From Aitor, not really a question, I just hope that Lee Cook is aware that he's respected and admired all over the world for what he did for our club. What does it mean to you when supporters, I'd imagine they often talk about that gesture when you left to go to Fulham, but supporters not just of any club but of your football club talk about you and hold you in such high regard? Yeah,
I think because I had so many good years here on the pitch, the fans really liked me as a player because I was an attacking winger, and they like that. They've always liked that type of player down here, since Dave Thomas, Andy Silva and Trevor. QPR fans have always liked good football and good attacking wingers. So I was fortunate that I was a decent winger, which is why they took to me as a player. And then obviously when I've moved and done that, then it's just enhanced that of what they think of me as well. So every time I'm out and about, like I popped out after the game on Saturday, just walking down the Uxbridge Road and that, and they just get stopped all the time and said thanks for doing that. It's just good that they don't forget it, and even the new breed, even their kids, they probably tell them. Yeah. So I never regret that. That was something I'm very proud of doing at the time. So I always feel proud for that.
Right. So okay, from Ollie Lewis, what is your favourite QPR chant?
My favourite QPR chant was
daytime programme. It's live.
Akos Bouzaki's one was my favourite.
Akos Bouzaki one.
I used to sing it to him in training all the time. I used to think I was mad. So jump on his back and sing his song to him. I think even the managers at the time were like, "Why does he keep singing that song?" Like, I just loved it. Yeah. I just wish I had a name that was as good as Akos Bouzaki's.
Yeah. Well, how good was Akos?
Top player, very good. He was the type of player I like. He weren't 100 miles an hour and lightning quick, but what a player on the ball.
Yeah.
Great touch. And I used to love playing with him because he'd pick you out all the time. You know, when you'd make a run, you knew the ball was coming. Outside of the boot, inside, splitting defenders, and he could hit a free kick as well. He had one of them Beckham type whips on him. You don't see many players like him much either, anymore. I'm not sure where he's playing now. I think he went back home.
To Hungary because he had an academy or a sort of centre of excellence of such that his dad worked with. I think he was keen to go back.
He lived near me in Beaconsfield. I got on with him quite well. He was always floating about. But he kind of, towards the end of his career here, he didn't enjoy it. He couldn't wait to leave. I remember they offered him a contract and he actually refused it, which baffled me. But he must have really disliked it in the end for him to leave. But yeah, he was a top lad and a very good player. Very good.
Because you effectively were at the club during two eras, if you like, the end of the old and the start of the new.
Yeah.
Would you look back on and say he was the best player I played with, I trained with?
In terms of talent, Adele was by far the best. Certain days in training, it'd be so frustrating, and you wouldn't want him on your team. But then other days, you'd win 8-0 because he was on your team. So it all depended how he felt, if he had a good night's kip or not, or if he had a nice dinner the night before. If he had a bad dinner, then he'd turn up with a hump. But yeah, he was by far the most talented, by far.
Yeah.
You know, I know he's at Benfica now, so I was see a bit of their Champions League game last night, and he wasn't involved. So I don't know what's going on over there.
He hasn't featured. I don't think he's featured at all since moving to Benfica. Certainly for their first team. Could he have achieved more in his career?
Yeah, definitely. I think so, 100%. From these talent-wise, I mean, he needed a manager that was really tough to get hold of him. Obviously hasn't got that yet. I thought going to Benfica, when he went to AC Milan, he done quite well. But you know, when he went to Benfica, I thought that'd be a new start for him because they've always been a good side, Benfica, haven't they? Like whenever I've seen them in Europe, they play pure football.
Yeah. And in theory, would suit him.
That's what I thought. But you know, obviously, you don't see day to day what's happening at training and how he's getting on with the manager and stuff. So I don't know if he's picked up a couple of injuries or what. You know, I've not seen it, but yeah, he's a team like Benfica. Delta Rat, that kind of goes from his talent. Yeah. And I thought he would be playing regularly, but obviously not. Okay,
and we mentioned him a minute ago, someone that you worked under, Gareth Ainsworth. It must have been strange to have gone from someone who's part of your group, if you like, and suddenly he's the gaffer. Was that a funny period?
Yeah. No, not really. If it would have been anyone in the team of the senior players, it would have been Gareth because he got on so well with everybody. He's such a nice guy. That you want to play for him. So, and I think Flavio see that in him, and that's why he gave him the caretaker job twice because he knew that he got on so well with all the players. I mean, the other senior boys at the time, I think he was the one that you'd say, right, you know, they give it to him. Let's let Gaz have a go. Don't know what qualifications he had at the time. Not sure if he'd even done his coaching badges. Yeah. But he's doing a great job now at Wickham. I played against him last year in the FA Cup. I see him for a bit. I mean, his budget down there was awful, like one of the least in the whole league. And for them to get to the playoff final last year, nearly get promotion, people underestimate what type of jobs them sort of people are doing at that level.
Yeah, that's very true. And he's doing very well again this season. They're comfortably in the playoffs. Had a good recent run as well.
And again, didn't have the budget.
No, does it surprise you how well he's doing as a manager?
Not really, no, because like I said, he's a generally nice guy and you want to play for him. And he's obviously brought, I'm not sure his assistant is, but as long as you've got a good coach who can do the training ground bits and you've got a manager like Gareth who you want to play for, you know, that's the recipe for success there. As long as you've got the coach who does his job there, he's the coach, that's the training ground. Gareth's the guy who's going to watch it, pick the team, and that's who you want to play for. And it's obviously working for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a job at a high level.
Some might say he's a lovely bloke, he's a nice bloke, but do nice blokes achieve success as managers because they need to be able to give out rollerkins, they need to be able to drop players, discipline players? Do you feel he's got that side to him? Well, clearly he has because he's doing so well.
I mean, if you looked at Gaz as a player, you know, he was lovely, but he stepped on that line. I mean, I remember he broke Tony Craig's jaw twice. When I was at Leyton Orient, Tony Craig come on loan and he was talking about Gareth, how he broke his jaw twice because he ran into him, he just smashed into him. I mean, he was an aggressive player, Gareth. And I wouldn't like to see what he was actually like if he lost the plot in the change room. He never lost it with us because I think he was on a caretaker role.
Right, yeah.
But now he's proper first team manager. I wouldn't like to get on the wrong side of him because, you know, he pushes some weights in the gym. I bet he's got an Andy Wright hook on him.
Have you ever sing Gareth Ainsworth get angry?
No, only when he was at rocking and rolling on the stage. Got into character of a rocker. Giving it all that. That's the only time I ever see him angry, with his cowboy boots on.
Have you seen many QPR games this season? I know you're saying you're at the Ipswich game.
That's the first one I've got down to, actually.
Yeah.
So it's just like I said, with us, we've got games galore coming up. So it's going to be hard now to the end of the season. But any game I can get down to, I'll come. A friend of mine has a box as well, which is handy because I come in there and the food's beautiful. You just sit there, chill, watch the game. It's just nice. So I'm hoping I can get down to a few more games. I'm glad Jimmy's here. I had 10 days up with him at Forest when McLaren was manager. I was going to sign for them up there.
Oh, okay.
And I thought he was a really good coach.
What stood
nice
out for you
guy.
about Jimmy Hoilett?
Well, I had 2 reserve games with him as a manager. And he just talked sense, because you do get a lot of managers where you sit there and you think, what is he going on about? Like, he's completely off the radar here. But not with him. For me personally, everything he said, I was thinking the same thing. So, and like I said, another nice bloke person that you wanted to play for.
And when you say you agreed with everything he said, in terms of tactics?
Yeah, like football things on the pitch during that game, or the 2 reserve games. Yeah, I mean, he seemed to me like he's a football type of manager, likes the ball to be played on the floor, likes flair players as well as the grafters that you need in your team. But yeah, I'm quite pleased when he took over. I know the results haven't been great, and we've had quite a few draws, but we've got to give him some time, because I think he's going to be a good manager for this club. And
it is the ultimate period of transition, if you like, because in terms of the players that we're bringing in, the players that are leaving the club, be it permanently or on loan, it's a different type of player that's coming in, with a lot of players coming in having never played in the Championship before, younger players coming in rather than players who are a little bit older, who have perhaps had their greatest days in their careers behind them. Yeah, I mean, for him, I think he could look at this season. I mean, we're in a position where probably we're not going to get to the playoffs. We're not going to get relegated. You know, it's playtime for him. He can have a little look and see what's going on, and mix and change a few things, so he knows for next season what he needs, what he's going to do. Yeah. So it's just that period for the minute. We've just got to stick with it, let him do what he thinks is right. Some results are not going to go away, obviously, like Saturday. Be interesting to see the result against Bolton. I played against them twice in the FA Cup and didn't think much of them. So it'd be interesting. Let's talk about Bolton. Like you say, you played against them twice for Eastleigh only last month as well. Yeah. And it seems to me, since they got that victory over you, they've improved their form. So we're playing them at the best form of their season, thanks to you a lot. So thanks for that. But what did you make of Bolton? Obviously, they're the bottom of the league. They're 7 points adrift of safety. It's difficult for them on and off the pitch. They've got some good players. They've got some very good players in their team. But when we played them, they just didn't seem to be switched on at all. Like, we was playing short corners against them, and they were still walking back and not facing the right way. Just little things like that. We nearly got in on 2 or 3 corners playing them short. You don't expect that from a Championship team. Do you know what I mean? It's like that should be the bread and butter for that level. So just things like that. And I mean, obviously on the ball, the players are decent, and we had to do our defending part. But we should have beat them at home. They got a 90th minute equaliser, and then they beat us 3-2 at their place. But I think if we can try and catch them, quick throw-ins, quick free kicks, I think that's where you're going to catch them. Okay, a question from Set Designs. If you had the chance to come back in 10 years and manage QPR, would you? Would you like to go into coaching management? When I was, 8, 9, 10, 11, the dream was to play for him, and I've done that. And now the next stage is to be the manager here, so that's my next dream. Are you doing the badges? I've started them, I've just done my level 2. I'm going to do my UEFA B in June. Get that under my belt. Try and maybe get a job at the level I'm at now. I think that stands you in good stead, because you're managing at first team level. And then who knows, I'm still young, really, 33. By the time I'm 43, I've got 10 years of more experience under my belt, and
that's my next dream. That's my next aim, and that's my next challenge is to come back here as manager. So we'll see if that happens.
There we go. You get your 250 grand back over there the next few years.
Signing on fee. manager, please.
Is it something you've always wanted to go into while you were a player? Were you always thinking about going into coaching management?
Not really. I got to like 27, 28, and that's when I started to think about decisions and during games and what managers were doing. And now, the last 2 years, even more so. I was at Barnet last year and I had quite an influence with the manager there. He asked my opinion quite a lot. I was always in his office speaking about things, and even games he wanted me sat next to him, giving my opinion and stuff. And I quite enjoyed it.
Has it made you look at games differently over the last 5 years or so?
Yeah. I'd say the last 3 years, and some things you see baffle you, and you think, what's going on there? Wouldn't do that. And that's kind of what every fan might think when they're sitting in the stand. It's the same sort of thing, really, but you're in the business, so you feel that you know more. But I'm definitely gonna have a pop at it, I think.
Great stuff. Okay, well, hopefully we'll see you back in the next 10 years or so.
Gaffer.
Gaffer Cook. Okay, well, just finally then, before we go, what's your prediction for Saturday's game against Bolton? From QPR's perspective, keen to get back to winning ways as quickly as we can against a Bolton side who 7 points adrift, but like I said, I think they've picked up, 5 points from their last 4 games. They're on a reasonably good run of form.
Yeah.
They're 7 adrift, so they will see this home game against a mid-table side. They'll be looking to win it. So in theory, should be quite open because neither side would want a point.
Yeah, it's actually a decent place to play, actually. It's a good atmosphere there. They've got a good fan base, so the atmosphere will be decent. I think, going on by what I see, if I hadn't seen what they were like, I wouldn't really know. But I think we'll nick it by the odd goal. Because like I said, they don't switch on at all. They're there for the taking. I know they've picked up recently, but it's still a club that, off the field, it's in a bad way. I still don't even know if they've actually been paid since November. I don't know what's been going on there. When we played them, they still haven't been paid. Spoke to a couple of their players there and they hadn't been paid. So off the field stuff's not good, which definitely hinders you on the pitch. Obviously, Neil Lennon's not a bad manager and he's got them G'd up a bit. But after just forget about that Fulham game and think about the Ipswich one, and I think we'll nick it 1-0, 2-1, something like that.
And the target for next season for QPR?
It's got to be playoffs. It's got to be playoffs. Summertime obviously is important with signings and budgets and what he's going to be given, but it's got to be playoffs. I mean, even when Ollie was in charge and we were one of the lowest budgets, our aim was the playoffs. So it's got to be.
Great stuff. Well, listen, thanks very much for joining us. Best of luck in your own playoff bid with Eastleigh. We'll see you back here in 2026.
Lovely. Cheers,
Great stuff. You've been watching Access All Ours. There'll be no show next week owing to the midweek game at Sheffield Wednesday. We'll be back the following week building up to our game at MK Dons. Thanks for watching Access All Ours.